The easiest way to shape a button that I've found is not to touch it to a belt sander or to drag it along like this on paper that's on a tabletop, but rather do it totally by hand using sanding sticks. This is just sandpaper glued to a stick with a mouse pad piece of sponge in there for a slight conformity. And using this tool gives you much more control over the shape that you're rendering, and you can test the shape of it frequently during the fabrication process. And this is 80 grit, so you can really rip through some material with this. And it doesn't take long at all. And as you begin to approach your final dimension, check more frequently and use finer and finer grades of paper. And put a little angle on the side of the button here. And there we go. Okay, the next step is to actually polish the crease between the face of the button and the bite zone itself. This takes another specialized tool. Any slab of metal with the right angle edges will work. This happens to be what's called a fret file, but it doesn't matter. Again, a very, very slight amount of elasticity backing for the sandpaper is desirable, actually necessary. So this is just a piece of electrical tape that was laid on the metal and then trimmed with a razor blade. So take some 1200 paper. Again, get the crease defined and then pinch it off. Fold it over and you've got a sharp edge on the back of that. And we're going to put some horizontal scratches on this, but it's 1200 grit. And we have to take them back out. They don't last long. They're not deep. But this is necessary. We're getting the final regularity in that crease. If you don't do this step, you'll still have a cloudy crease when you go to the buffing stage. It can't be avoided. Using a sharp right angle edge piece of metal is the only way to get in there. No foam board is going to reach it. There's no file whose teeth are cut sharp enough to do this. So this is the one and only method that I've ever found that works. Again, in the sanding motion, be sure you keep it rocking so you don't put any flat spots anywhere. Okay. That looks good, and now we've got to get rid of the scratches that are going this way on the stem. Even though they're microscopic, once you start to buff this, they will begin to trench. These scratches will only get deeper and larger if left there. You have to have all the scratches going lengthwise on the stem. It's the only way it works. There's no alternative. So take the same 1200 paper that you just used, put it around a foam stick, and go after the bite zone like so. This gentle rocking motion. Sometimes moving the work is easier than trying to rock while you go side to side. Use water liberally. You're trying to keep all of the particles in suspension in the liquid. that ought to come close. Now I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to look at this under whatever magnification you need to use to make completely sure that you've gotten rid of every last scratch that goes this direction. If you see even one and look at the gleam of the light, you'll not be able to get it out on the buffing wheel. It simply won't come out. So sand as long as you need to, with like starting at 1,000, go up to 1,200, 1,500 until you get all of that out of there. Okay, so I'm up to 1,500 now, and all of the horizontal scratches should be off the bite zone. And yeah, I think they are. So the face of the button is now square. The crease has been polished with sandpaper. The bite zone is properly radiused. The only thing left to go is finish shaping the button, and that's pretty straightforward. So we're going to finish putting a smooth surface on this button. Now I'm not going to completely shape the button for this little demo. That's really a whole separate subject. I'm just getting enough of a shape going so that we can polish the crease, which is that's the master plan for this entire thing, is how to get that spot behind the button as shiny as the Danes do it. Okay, so again, the button is not fully shaped here, but just for the purposes of this crease polishing exercise, but that's good enough for this demo. Alright, the final step is to break this sharp edge that's like a knife on the back of the button. You do that with another file, just a tiny little guide. Grind a dead edge if you don't have access to an actual dead edge file. And using either cardstock from like an index card, or the paper from a safety envelope, which I found to be very thin and tough, take a single wrap, and that's to protect this area that we just sanded from getting grooved by the edge of this file. Take the file and tilt it forward so that you got about a 30-degree angle. You're not tucking it up underneath the button, but you're holding it at an angle somewhat short of 45 degrees. And then arch that around, and you're just going to take off it's a very small amount actually, but if you don't do this, you're going to get a waffled effect when you try to shine the crease. You've got to break this razor sharp edge back here. You'll have trouble later on. And I believe we're good to go. We'll meet you at the buffer. Okay. And we're off. We'll give the entire stem, on the side we worked anyway, a bit of a shine before we try to go after the crease, so we have something to compare it with. And now here comes one of the tricky wheels, which is deliberately been left stringy for the reason we spoke of earlier. It's a 4 or 5 inch wheel. That's to lower the surface speed per minute. The buffer is 1800 RPM, so it's not it's a half speed, but what's known as a half speed buffer. Now, holding the stem at a 45-degree angle, you let those strings get drawn into that crack. This is the button here. This would be the crease of the button. The strings will actually gather or funnel into the crack or into the crease behind the button while it's spinning from each side. Alright, go up. The next grit step is red. And repeat the process. Holding it at this 45-degree angle is critical to getting the crease to polish. Quick once over for comparison's sake here. Alright. Now naturally, you can take the shine as high as you wish to go. Just keep on, use a different wheel for each grit, but you can keep doing this on up to you're using the German extra fine stuff. It's all up to you. So in any event, there we go. There are no horizontal scratches. The crease of the stem itself has been shined. The button is not completely shaped. Normally I'd round the front edge of that a little more, but we'll do that in a different video. So hopefully that's just what you needed to see in order to have a professionally shined button crease. And thank you very much.